A great example of taking responsibility under criticism is Mary Barra. She's the CEO of General Motors. And in her time, they had a major ignition failure. This is back in like 2014. And the ignition failure ultimately led to several accidents and even loss of life, some fatalities. So General Motors is in the hot seat. And what did she do as the CEO? Well, she immediately took ownership of the situation. She went public and acknowledged the problem, acknowledged that they were going to do an internal investigation. They were going to oversee the millions of vehicles that were going to be affected by this. She testified before Congress. She demonstrated transparency and accountability by getting in the face of criticism and leading out front. What she did is she helped ensure things with the customers, the investors, the families that were affected, all of the regulators, and she reinforced that the company was going to be strong and committed to the safety and to the quality of their product. This was a huge savior moment for General Motors, where they could have really gone under serious scrutiny and serious financial times. And again, people's lives were lost, and she responded the right way. Not only did it help General Motors, it boosted her reputation, her followers, the investors, and everyone involved overall. The other time that a leader needs to lead out front is in a time of catastrophe, and specifically with decisiveness. So you need to be decisive in the face of chaos and catastrophe. So this kind of really brings us into the whole Milton and the whole Helene thing, is that in catastrophic situations, people are looking to the leader who's going to have to step forward out front and make swift, decisive actions. Now, here's the thing that we know is in the moments as information is unfolding and the chaos is probably at its peak, you're going to have a lack of information. So you have to make the best decision you can with the information that is available at the time. If you can articulate that you are making the best decision for the most amount of people with the relative information you have at the time, almost everyone will back those decisions and they will trust you. Now, remaining calm is an essential part of this. And there are multiple ways to remain calm by mentally preparing, bracing for the worst case scenario, having a high set of skills, breathing techniques, being physically and mentally in shape. Those are things that you can do. And ultimately, you make those difficult choices under pressure, and people will lead and follow lead themselves in the way that you led, and then follow with the decision that you've made. And you will be able to navigate that storm much more effectively if you can stay calm and make decisions. So one of the key takeaways is that during a catastrophe, clarity is needed. Clarity of thought, clarity of action, the ability to give the specific orders so that people who might be experiencing stress and crisis and audio exclusion and increased blood pressure and heart rate and tunnel vision and all kinds of things, they want to either hesitate or run or freeze. You're going to provide the direction necessary, and your leadership is going to be strong by stepping out front, and it gives them confidence. And this is a high stakes environment. So when you execute, it's going to prevent a lot of catastrophe just from lack of action. Now, other thing that you have to do is you have to demonstrate emotional intelligence. So in all of the categories already discussed, emotional intelligence is very important. And emotional intelligence really means that leaders have to be attuned with the emotions of themselves and the emotions of their teammates, and then how those emotions play off of each other. You need to be able to show empathy and sympathy and support, while at the same time you have to stay strong and composed. You may be experiencing stress and loss personally in some of these situations that we've brought up, but your composure is what's going to be very contagious. You want to have contagious good behavior, not contagious bad behavior like panic, anxiety, negative thought. You want to be as optimistic as appropriate, and you want to lead forward with emotional intelligence and recognize the stresses on your people's faces, the stresses in your people's actions and their voices, and stay composed. Balance is an essential component of this. You have to push people forward, especially in a crisis, in difficult times, but you have to keep morale up as much as possible during a crisis. There's another good example of this. New Zealand had a prime minister that there was a big terrorist event at the Christchurch terrorist event. There was an attack. It really did a lot of harm. There was a lot of emotional intelligence displayed by the leader. He had made his addresses understanding that there was grief, understanding that there was fear. The entire nation was needing to remain calm and composed. There's times where if you are not a decisive leader, you could go on the so-called witch hunt as a nation. And so New Zealand survived this terrorist event because of the articulation, the sympathy, the intelligence, and the perceptiveness that the prime minister put in place through the public addresses and the sympathies personally given to the people. And then I want to hit this last topic, is that inspiring and mobilizing a team. And this goes back to the primary things you've probably heard me mention in stepping out front, is that when you draw people together to say, hey, here's the vision of ourselves in the future. Here's where we want to go. This is what we want to be when we grow up. You are a bit of that cheerleader and the rallying person. You step out front and you say, here's the action plan, and I'm going to take the first step for us. So follow me. I'm going to blaze the trail, get the machete out, and start hacking through the vines of the jungle so we can all have a clear path forward. That's a great time to step out front as a leader. The team is now going to be seeing that they are led towards solutions. They're then going to seek their own solutions and their own ways to be productive and more efficient. They're going to apply the techniques and skills that they've acquired on their own or been learned and taught through the training systems and the mentorship that you provide. And they're all going to push together, motivated and rising together. That's the best part, is they're going to get through whatever circumstances prevent themselves, because they're going to be inspired and empowered and now contributing to go ahead and adapt to the situation as it unfolds so that we can all get to the vision, get to that goal together. So here's a very famous example. Elon Musk. You should all pretty much know who that is. He's repeatedly had to mobilize teams during near catastrophic situations, huge financial turmoil and failures. Tesla's almost gone bankrupt with some financial struggles multiple times. His other businesses have had to stay proactive and push out product because investors and the market was demanding things. He's pushed boundaries all over the place, and he's maintained inspirational presence that rallied his people to keep pushing, work the longer hours, push harder, find a solution. And his employees and his investors and his customers all benefited because he was willing to be the inspirational visionary. So those are ways that we can all figure out how and when we need to lead out front. So I want you to pay attention when I get where I'm going and I bring on my next guest, Jared Morgan, how leading out front plays in all the situations that we're going to talk about on the remainder of the show. So sit tight, hang in right there, and we will be back with more pivotal change right after this commercial break.